I am pleased to introduce this year's commencement speaker, Christopher Kip Hale, a member of the Cardigan class of 1995. Kip hails from Telluride, Colorado, from a family with a deep connection to the school. His dad, Tom Hale, was a member of the Cardigan Mountain School Class of 1960. Kip first encountered Cardigan personally as a summer session student after his 4th grade year. He returned to summer session after 5th grade and later enrolled as an academic year student for 8th grade, graduating in 1995. Kip went on to attend Pomfret School for 3 years, from which he was recruited to play for the Denison University's men's lacrosse program. Earning degrees from Denison University and the Sturm College of Law at the University of Denver, Kip now lives in the Washington, D.C. metro area, where he is senior counsel at the American Bar Association Center for Human Rights, and currently serves as director of its ABA International Criminal Court project, supporting legal operations to advance the field of international criminal law and strengthening relations between the United States and the International Criminal Court. Please help me welcome Kip Hale to the podium.
It is truly a beautiful day in New Hampshire. It's good to see Mr. Clark here, who I always remember saying that every single day. Graduates, parents, alumni, friends, ladies and gentlemen, it's truly great to be back here at Cardigan, a place that means so much to me and my growth as a person. First of all, let me congratulate the class of 2014. I personally know the rigors that you went through to get here, from those early morning breakfasts and coat and tie to the late night study halls. And congratulations and a hearty one to the parents of the class of 2014. It takes your strength and determination just as much as your boys to get here today. Now, before I get to my speech, let me please make note that my mother and father came all the way here from the greatest state in the Union, which is, of course, Colorado. And parents are interesting species. There's certain things about parents that us children will never understand. For instance, if given the chance, I guarantee my mother would come up here, fix my hair, and straighten my bow tie. Do I look all right, Mom? All right. And my father has a motto that is his job as a father to embarrass his children, which I can tell you he's quite masterfully done from time to time. But parents are also the reason why we excel. It's not only their genes and parenting, but their strength and determination, as I mentioned, that gets us to the point we are in this class of 2014 is a platform for success. And as I always say, if there's anything good about me or anything good that I've done in this life, it's because of my mom and dad. I also want to extend a thanks to my brother, Mark Hale, who's not here today, unfortunately. He's one of my best friends and supporters and a great confidant and advocate, so thank you, Mark. Now, when thinking about the focus of my speech, I could talk to you all about international human rights and my work as an international criminal lawyer. I could tell you about how international criminal responsibility for mass atrocities are incredibly important for establishing durable peace around the world. But what good would that do when most of these boys in front of me are all they're thinking right now is, oh my God, I'm going to be with a class of girls next year. What do I say? What do I do? Oh my God, girls. While we're on that point, let me make a bit of sage advice that my commencement speaker, Congressman Paul Tsongas, must have taken out of his speech at the last minute. And that's this. It's very easy. As the rules of the road, they're quite easy. Be respectful and friendly. Be yourself. Be confident in what you say and do, no matter how unconfident you are. And have a firm handshake and look people in the eye. And here's the tip. Keep them guessing. Don't always show how much you like them. I know that all the fathers in the room know what I'm talking about, and for that matter, all the mothers as well. Okay, let's get this speech back on track. Now, as I said, my speech won't be about international human rights law, but I need to justify the reason why Mr. McCusker asked me to be here. And also because maybe on many of your minds, it looks like this kid just graduated from Cardigan a few years ago. So with that, as kindly said, I am Senior Counsel of the ABA Center for Human Rights in Washington, D.C., and Director of its ABA International Criminal Court Project. And then previously what I did was I was a litigator in the field. For close to 3 years, I was a prosecuting attorney at the UN Khmer Rouge Tribunal in Cambodia, where I helped secure the conviction of a prison warden who oversaw the torture and death of 12,000 people in Phnom Penh. And this was a 1970s communist regime that was only prosecuted later. Previous to this post, I advised judges and did defense work at the UN International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia, also in The Hague, Netherlands, which was a tribunal set up to investigate and prosecute mass atrocities committed in the Bosnian War. Personally, I worked on a case from a place called in Bosnia called Srebrenica, where close to 8,000 Muslim men and boys were killed by Serb Orthodox Christians. Now that I've all sufficiently depressed you listening to my line of work, let me just at least tell you one message on this matter. Mass atrocities that occur around the world are not somebody else's problems. They're very much our problem, because they affect our national interest, our foreign policy, our financial, and our cultural and other interests. So with that, my message to the young and maybe not so young here is to develop a commitment to public service and a commitment to human rights, particularly the plight of those very far away from here. Now to the focus of my speech. I thought the best service I could do to everyone here is to provide a little bit of insight of what the Cardigan experience is like and answer some questions that maybe parents and graduates have. For the parents, what was the Cardigan experience like for my boy? And for the students and the graduates, I froze my butt off here. What am I getting out of it? First and foremost, Cardigan is about true friendships. Now, I could tell you about true friendships and nice, glorious words about how these are lifelong bonds that you've made and you've learned so much about yourself through them, but I'd rather demonstrate it. And I'll demonstrate by talking about my good friend Philippe Cousteau, who was my class in 1995 with me, and we became quick friends when we entered in 8th grade. And I'll do so by showing you what the phone call was like when I called Philippe to tell him about the nice, kind invitation to be commencement speaker here. So remember, true friendship, lasting, and all the such. Philippe? Yes, it's Kip. Once again, I beat you. I was invited to be the commencement speaker before you. Yes, Kip 1, Philippe 0. No, what is that, Philippe? You're the grandson of world-famous underwater explorer Jacques Cousteau, and you are a TV personality on CNN Travel Channel and Discovery Channel, and you have over 40,000 Twitter followers? Ah, big whoop. What is that? You just recently got married to Ashton Gorse, a E! Entertainment News TV personality, and New York Times covered your wedding in a French castle? So, what's your point? What is that, Mr. Headmaster McCusker? You invited Philippe to be the commencement speaker, but he had a conflict? Philippe. Philippe, that was nothing. That was just Headmaster McCusker saying that he made the clearly best choice. What is that, Philippe? Oh yeah, I can't hear you breaking up when you're underwater like that. Yes, Philippe, I am the quickest to go from graduation to commencement speaker. Oh, what is that? Freddie Meyer's class in 1997 gave the speech a few years ago? You really need to stop interrupting me. No, Philippe, that's again Headmaster McCusker saying I'm clearly the best out of the class in 1995. Bye. Joking aside, first and foremost, as I said, Cardigan is about friendships, as demonstrated by Philippe and I's relationship. And I want to make note that Zach Antonucci, my roommate from my years here, we were at Proctor Hall there and Hinman Hall over here. He showed up today, and I'm glad that a good friend from my class is here as well. But Philippe and I demonstrate that as much because after 12 years of not seeing each other, when he showed up at my law school graduation, we didn't skip a beat. It was like as if we've been hanging out for all those years in between. And that's a sign of a true friendship. So to the graduates and parents, true bonds were created here, only the types that boys going through so many different experiences can create. Now to the second point. Cardigan experience exposed your boys to exceptional adults. Now again, I can talk about and explain this, but I might as well demonstrate it. With us today is Dan Murphy, or as I call him, Coach Murph. He was my fourth grade dorm parent over here at Clark Morgan. And it was through the many interactions I had with Coach Murph that I learned how to carry myself in different circumstances. I learned how to be a good student, a reliable classmate, a caring individual, and a true sportsman. Additionally, let me mention the late Coach Marion. Someone recently told me that all great institutions can be traced back to one, maybe two individuals. And for many years and for many people, Coach Marion was the institution of Cardigan. And let me tell you about a conversation I had with Coach Marion that really changed my life. Now, when I came to Cardigan, I was an avid basketball player. And I played a little bit of lacrosse. But as my 8th grade year went through, I kind of played against guys like this tall guy here in the front, and I realized that I wasn't had much future in basketball. And so I get a little bit more interested in lacrosse, but going to my 9th grade year, I still was very much a basketball player. And it was the very first game of our Cardigan season that 9th grade year, and it was a road game at Northfield Mount Hermon. And Coach Marion pulled me aside, and he said, in typical Coach Marionisms, he said, "How many goals are you going to get, Kipperoo?" And so let me give you a bit of context. Coach Marion was not my lacrosse coach. Coach Marion maybe picked up a lacrosse stick a few times in his life, and I have no reason why he asked me this question. Yet, me, my typical Kip hubris, I responded to him quickly, "Oh, 3 goals, of course, Coach." And he looked at me very quickly and plainly, and he said, "Not good enough, soldier. You can do better." And I remember him first thinking, where's all this random confidence coming from? It made me actually question his judgment. But then I kind of started thinking about it, and I thought, well, maybe I can do that. And whatever his strategy or his reasons were, it worked. I remember coming back to the campus and rushing to Coach Marion's office to tell him I had scored 5 goals and helped our team secure a victory. And from that point forward, lacrosse was a true love of mine. I went on to be a high school All-American and All-American in college, and I still play lacrosse today. And for all the benefits that I got lacrosse has been in my life, I could trace it back to that conversation with Coach Marion. Now, number 3. The Cardigan experience is very much about structure, which I believe is a critically important foundation of professional growth. Now, let's be honest. Cardigan's not a whole lot of independent structuring going on here. The school, maps out every 15 minutes of the boys' day. But that's not the point. The point is that it's Cardigan that teaches through structure do we get true freedom. And I know that sounds contradictory, but it's through structure and organization that we systematically tackle the inevitable many challenges and demands of life. That we then, and do so in a productive manner, mind you, that we then have time for the other things in life we want to do. Now, does this mean we need to structure our life in 15-minute intervals? Of course not. But it's the capacity to turn this ability on that I think is the best attribute, the best asset a Cardigan alum has. As my father always likes to say, most of life is just showing up. And at Cardigan, they give you the tools to not only show up, but to excel once you get there. I can confidently tell you there is no way I would have passed the bar exam had it not been for Cardigan. When faced with the most daunting test I will ever take in my life, full 2 days, I could have let the enormity of the situation overcome me and gone into a frantic state. But no, I went back to basics. I structured what subjects I would be studying and when. I worked from every day from 9 to 5, not a second sooner and not a second later. And when I remember vividly walking out of that test and saying, I definitely passed. I had a great rest of the summer, and I didn't have the anxiety about the results. And that's the true freedom I'm talking about. So to the graduates, stay true to the lessons of structure you've learned here. It will give you a leg up and set you apart from others. Now, to the fourth and final point. Now, I've painted a really rosy picture for all of you here. But let's be honest with ourselves. Most Cardigan, if not all Cardigan boys, do something here that they're not proud of and that hopefully they regret. Now, Mom, don't worry. I am the exception to the rule. I am still an angel from up on high. But maybe for this next part, you want to close your ears. In keeping with my way of structuring the speech here and talking about my personal experiences as indicative of the Cardigan experience, let me tell you about my biggest failing here at Cardigan. There was a classmate of mine named John Perella. Excuse me. And John Perella and I, as boys at that age, would always get in fights about who was cooler and who had more friends. And in one of these arguments, I gave him a nickname that stuck with him, that rhymed with his last name, and stuck with him all the way through graduation. Now, little did I know the devastating consequence that this nickname was having on John's psyche. Where I thought I was being clever and funny, it was eating him up from the inside. And only until he had more or less a nervous breakdown in front of me did I understand what I contributed to his Cardigan experience. Now, excuse me 1 second. Now, I could tell all of you that I learned my lesson, and that I don't do that type of thing anymore. But that's too simplistic of an analysis. While we all should strive to not make mistakes, we are human and we inevitably do so. And it's what we do and how we process those mistakes that matter. So instead, it's all about how we process and handle this mistakes. It's the ability to be honest with oneself and with others about our failings and how we address that failings. Do we get to true growth? Now, honest self-reflection, self-improvement is not easy, and as I said, it's lifelong. But as my college coach, Michael Caravana, would often say, don't worry that I'm yelling at you. Worry when I stop yelling at you. In a similar vein, don't worry about that the lifelong pursuit of self-improvement is lifelong. That is life. That's what we deal with. But do worry if you stop improving and if you stop wanting to improve. And as my college coach, lacrosse coach also said, it's not the last play that matters, it's the next play. And here at Cardigan, they've given you the tools to make that next play better, especially when your last play wasn't a particularly great one. Now, in conclusion, I hope my insights gave you a little bit of insight into the Cardigan experience. So again, congratulations to the class of 2014. Go forth, be a little bit mysterious to that special someone. Have a commitment to human rights, particularly the human rights of those far away from you. Stay true to your lessons that you've learned here at Cardigan. And last and most importantly, if you ever meet Philippe Cousteau, you tell him this was the most amazing speech and he shouldn't even try to duplicate it. Thank you very much.